Hey everybody, it's Rémy, your dietitian. Miss a lot of you, and I'm just really just like you guys, looking forward to everything kind of getting back to normal. Tonight would have been one of my nutrition classes. If you don't know this, most of you do, but I do teach several nutrition classes, usually every other Thursday. Um, and tonight's topic was inflammation and your diet. A great topic. If you haven't been to that class, I encourage you to come sometime. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to be putting together sort of a video type of class that targets a lot of those topics, but I felt like changing things around a little bit so that it was going to be a little bit more relevant to what we're facing right now. American Society for Nutrition had put together this fantastic article, and I had sort of taken some of their information and added some of my own. I thought I would present this to you because making health and nutrition a priority is really what's important right now. I'm sure that you would agree. So in that, I just kind of wanted to share some of this with you, and and I welcome your feedback also. But as we know, this whole topsy-turvy craziness of the COVID 19 pandemic, it's affecting all of us in so many various ways. I mean, we're quarantined, for goodness sake. It's crazy. Restaurants are closed, even our local stores and gyms, and now even the hiking trails are closed. So, and yes, of course, it's so important to observe those public measures to reduce exposure to the virus. We really want to contain it and get these numbers leveled off. Of course, that's going to be our number one right now. We really, especially in LA, don't know how long this is going to go on, but improving our health while we're practicing this sort of social distancing is going to be key to keeping us healthy, and then of course those around us also. So as your dietitian, of course, I always have to point at eating healthy. And it's so amazingly important, especially for keeping our immune system in top condition. So I just kind of wanted to discuss with you some steps we can take right now for continuing to eat healthy. Again, working from home may not necessarily mean there's more time to cook. Hopefully it does, though. But now we're kind of responsible possibly for having kids at home if you have children, and maybe of course their schools are closed if they're in America at all, but or what kind of keeping up with what your employer expects of your workload, because we're just juggling working at home. I mean, if you don't have a home office, it could be a little crazy. But as far as, again, keeping the exposure to a minimum, we also want to minimize the trips that we take to the supermarket. So before we start to shop, we want to definitely plan ahead. Right now, it's a little crazy if you've been to the supermarkets. It's nuts at how some of those aisles are completely empty and things are a little sparse, honestly. So we can sort of get off of our usual game. We tend to be creatures of habit, where we go to the same supermarket, same aisles, takes us about the same amount of time, and it becomes a bit of a routine. Well, right now things are a little nuts, obviously. So planning ahead. So visualizing, what am I going to be having for breakfast, lunch, and the next few nights of dinners. What are you going to serve? What are you going to need to cook it? A lot of restaurants are closed. There's of course still quite a few that you can call and get takeout. But this is a great time to really start to prepare your foods at home. But just to be, planning ahead. When we do plan and when we do market shop, important to think about nourishing foods. Think nutrition. Nutritious foods are foods that are going to fuel our health and make sure that our immune systems are healthy. So what does that mean? That means emphasizing that plant base. In other words, healthy grains and fruits and vegetables. Those should be served in the highest amounts. The meat portions, they should be served in smaller amounts, honestly, and that can help really save money right now. especially because I know there's unfortunately a lot of people that have minimized work schedules or have been kind of temporarily been off of work. So we of course always hope to be eating, regular, healthy, well-balanced meals every day. And of course, nourishing snacks too. As a matter of fact, I mean, I'm always going to look on the positive. In a lot of ways, this might really help us to kind of reset some of those habits that we've fallen into, maybe habits of rushing through or not having breakfast, or maybe just having a breakfast on the go, or maybe something sugary that hasn't been as healthy. Um, of course, when we go to the market, make a shopping list, and that way you'll use it. Hopefully, you won't get too far off your track and impulse buy or forget things, of course. Um, and stock up on nutrition packed foods that are going to stay fresh for a while, because like I said, you want to minimize the trips that you have to take to the market. There's quite a few of us that do multiple market trips per week, but for now we want to sort of stock up a bit. So in stocking up, you want to make sure that those foods last. So things like your grains, try to get your breads, whole grain breads, maybe like a corn, organic corn-based tortillas, or whole wheat, even English muffins or bagels, things like that. And of course, having your grains stocked at home, your whole wheat pasta, your barley, your quinoa, or brown rice, things like that you can make easily, that are hearty and have a lot of B vitamins packed in, and they're not going to go bad. So even some of the sturdier type of fruits, so things like citrus fruits or apples, melon, can sit for a while and not necessarily go bad. I mean, if they have bananas and fresh berries, awesome, because if you don't eat them right away, you can always freeze them. But even dried fruits, or and the frozens if possible. I know those have been out of stock in quite a few markets. Then same thing with your vegetables. Get those sturdy veggies, celery, and your cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and kale and chard, but also your onions and your garlic, bell peppers, potatoes. They seem to keep pretty well. Leafy greens, awesome. If they have them, fantastic. You always want to include your leafy greens. But if they have plain and frozen vegetables and even mixed vegetables, I would most definitely stock up on those. I've also seen and heard that those have been a little sparse too. But really, whatever you're kind of not using right away too, you can always, chop them up and put them in the freezer. Juices, really like 100% juices. Those are semi easy to come by right now. Refrigerated juices, frozen, canned, even boxed. Not that I'm a huge juice fan, but sometimes we definitely need, a little bit of that, that extra, vitamins. Milk and dairy, we can, if there's plenty of milk, awesome. The milk tends to stay up for quite a bit, but even canned or even shelf stable type of packages of milk or dairy-free milks. Your eggs, your free range fresh eggs, if you can find them. I think last week they were out with quite a few places. I definitely saw some the other day at the market, which was 2 days ago. But even egg whites in the cartons are a great way to get that extra protein in. So, eggs are one of my favorite sources of high biological value protein. Yogurts, plain, regular, or definitely Greek yogurt, which has a lot more protein in it. Cheeses, so your sliced, your cubed or cheddar, your shredded or crumbled cheese, stock up on those a little bit too. They tend to stay for a little bit and can add some calories and flavor, and a little bit of calcium to your meals. But things like your meats, chicken, so if it's frozen, awesome. A whole frozen chicken, or even frozen chicken pieces can make for a few meals during the week. They even have canned chicken as well, just like they do tuna and salmon. Seafood, frozen, like so ready to cook type of fillets or shrimp or salmon. Also canned sardines or canned tuna, of course. Your beef and pork, those are pretty easy right now too, but we're looking for those lean cuts, of course, and maybe even ground patties or meatballs. And then of course your lunch meats, those are definitely can stay for a while and last through the week, but always look for the nitrate free, keep that sodium down a little bit. Beans are a great source of not only protein, but fiber and sort of a slow rising carb. So drier canned beans, they're going to last in your pantry for a long time. So mix them up a little bit, like I always say. Your nuts and seeds, bagged, canned, even nut butters. And then make sure you're using flavorings like spices. So herbs and spices, they obviously can stick around for a bit, but utilize those as part of your daily routine when you're cooking. Now, one thing you want to be careful of is kind of stocking up on things like those just ready to heat and eat frozen types of either meals or breakfasts and things like that. So go easy on those. They tend to be incredibly high in sodium and preservatives and really just kind of nothing too good for you. So limit those tempting purchases too of things like, your sort of junky foods, your boxed cookies and sodas and chips and things like that. Also because, when you look at the medical studies, those highly processed foods can really tank your immune system. So a lot of processed sugars and of course added nitrates and preservatives have a lot of sodium. Those things lead to inflammation. And when inflammation rises, it's, going to cause not only weight gain, but probably joint pain, elevated blood sugars, elevated blood pressure, diabetes, of course, can get flared up. Autoimmune diseases can get tapped into, also some skin problems, acne, eczema, and it may even flare up allergies. So we want to remember that an inflamed body is also a weakened immune system. So we're really trying to keep our immune system strong right now, of course. So let's try to stay away from or definitely minimize those types of foods in our household. If you really think about it, one of the things that we can control right now is what we put into our body. So if every bite you take is either going to feed health or fight it, it's just something to really think about. Also, we want to keep our costs down. So consider some of the low cost alternatives too. So, you can maybe have some more meatless meals, which is always a good idea to do anyway. But definitely if like fruits and vegetables that are fresh are a little bit costly right now, it's okay to get those frozen veggies and frozen fruits. You just want to stay away from a lot of the added syrups or sugary type things. So try to get them plain as much as possible. Even canned. I'm usually not so much of an advocate for canned, but if the fresh is not as available, canned and can provide nutrients as well. But of course, your best bets are going to be the plain frozen. And look for things like the sodium labels and the numbers there too. Be sure to rinse them off as well. So also, this is a good time to start thinking about, hey, what about some of your neighbors or, people that you might know that are close by with health conditions and maybe some limitations. Maybe when you run to the market yourself, ask them if there's something you could pick up or bring to them too. Maybe try online shopping as well, as maybe even if you can't get out as often as you'd like to. I know a lot of these companies are a little bogged down right now and maybe need a day or two, but it might be something to start to look into and maybe you have your groceries delivered right to your door. Also, it's important to be prepared for maybe the supermarket's running low on a lot of items. So if you're already planned out your meals and, you just lacking maybe one or two ingredients that they don't have, have a backup plan or, be able to be flexible a little bit with your meal. Also, there's people that are much less fortunate, obviously. So, if there's a way you can contribute to our local, pantry or soup kitchen, then awesome. And, when it's all over, donate this extra food that you might even have stocked up on hand. I know a lot of us are stocking up a little bit. I'm not really sure exactly, the reason why a lot of people are going crazy with the stocking up. But, if we do end up having a little bit of extra this or that we won't necessarily eat, we can always donate that. Now, as far as some of the safety goes, just kind of being out and about in society, obviously we're trying to minimize contact, but think about things like maybe that we've taken for granted before. Definitely using those disinfectant wipes, and and at the markets and anywhere we go, really. But so when you're grabbing that cart, wipe it off, and then chuck that little hand wipe, of course. If you have reusable bags, these can actually be just beds of bacteria. They can be kind of gnarly after a while unless we're washing them quite often. So I would definitely just kind of remind you to launder your reusable grocery bags often, and or possibly right now just ask for the paper bag. Also, if you're going to, say, either an ATM machine or even just paying at the checkout, be careful of with having to touch those keypads. Maybe even just use your knuckles to touch them, so that you don't have to think about where everybody's been. I know we're a little bit germophobic right now, but there's good reason to be. There's a lot of restaurants right now that either have curfews or just only doing takeout meals. So, just to, again, to stick on the safety side, when you do pick up takeout food, get it home right away and eat it while it's hot. Of course, where else are we going to go, honestly? But then, store the leftovers right away. Tightly wrap them, refrigerate them right away, especially if it's any form of like meat or fish or poultry, something like that. And then if you're going to, say, dig back into it for a little later for some leftovers, make sure to reheat it thoroughly. And let's take some time to have like a positive experience out of this. So even those meals that are coming from outside, maybe just have some fun mealtime with your family, and just kind of make that family atmosphere of dining more of a routine. And I feel like a lot of families have kind of fallen out of that routine. And some of us have actually had some time, at home now, especially a lot of families are all together, during the day. But maybe try some new recipes, especially if you do have extra time right now. This is the time where, hey, especially those of you that have seen me a lot, I'm always an advocate for cooking your own meals and just kind of eating meals from home as much as possible. And I know our schedules, and several of us really don't have time for that, or at least we don't think we have time for that. Well, maybe now we can try some new recipes. I can hear my dogs barking in the back, so sorry about that. But there's a lot of great recipes on the internet, so just kind of look for some of those and see what you're interested in. You might just end up being a little, culinary connoisseur. But definitely take this time to reconnect, especially if you have family around. Try to start eating together at the table again, and maybe separating the time that you are, watching TV and eating dinner, so that you have that actual, time together, and maybe just start to talk to your family and get to know them again. I know a lot of people have children at home, and now they have children at home more, with the schools being closed. It's kind of like, we might deal with it in the summer, but this is a little more intense. So maybe getting your children really, involved with things like meal planning and food preparation, and of course the cleanup part is going to be really important too. But the neat part about stuff like making meals together is that there's a lot to learn for kids, and you might just be right now having this great opportunity to spark an interest in your child that might not have been there before. So maybe, get them involved, ask them to look in the refrigerator and see, or their pantry, and see what's running low. Have them sort of make a list, and maybe have them come up with some ideas of recipes or meal ideas, and see how much they want to get involved. The funny part about this is there's a lot of math involved. So just even, in things like your measuring cups and measuring spoons, having kids kind of count out numbers like that for ingredients, and then, adding, and how many in the family, how many are we cooking for, stocking the pantry items, and that type of planning. It takes a lot of preparation. And the neat part is there's science involved, especially with things like baking. So, get creative with it, and then have them sort of research the internet and see, why does this ingredient change that, and have them, this is, combined with that before we cook or heat something or blend something. So it's something that they can learn. Of course, right now we really want to be aware also of our own body. Whenever we're thrown into some situation that's very different, um, we can start to feel possibly a little bit sick. It can take our immune system just a little bit. Usually we should bounce right back. But definitely be aware of your body, how you're feeling. When you're out and about, make sure you are washing your hands, before you leave, of course, and then as soon as you get home. If you're working even in like in the medical environment, which of course, like where I work and the staff at the hospital, important to even launder, everything that you've been wearing all day, just because. But also, again, be aware of your body. If you have sort of this dry cough or you're feeling a little bit feverish or fatigued or having a hard time breathing, don't hesitate to reach out to a healthcare provider and get that checked out. But again, we always want to practice real positive attitude. So think positive. And although this could be a stressful time, how can we manage that kind of stress? Walking your dog, or if you have a dog, walk your neighbor's dog if you don't. Or, just calling people and staying connected that way, calling a friend or a family member, or taking a nice soak in the tub, or, just kind of taking more extra time to connect with your kids and cuddle with them. But definitely try to skip things like, the alcohol and tobacco and things like that can, again, get you a little bit tanked. So, not as far as your mental health, but also physically. Important to stick to routine. I know right now it's like, what routine? But trying to go to bed around the same time and go to bed relatively early and waking up on time or early, brushing our hair and making ourselves, presentable. I know there's a lot of jokes out there like about things like day pajamas and tonight pajamas. And I know a lot of people are just kind of walking around bedhead like it's the new trend. But making sure that even our home environment is clear of clutter or possibly even taking this time to be able to declutter part of our life. But also find ways maybe to exercise from home. And I know I've been talking a lot about this in my weight management class, but right now the gyms are closed, even the trails are closed. So it's been quite a challenge, of course. There's a lot of YouTube videos out there, or just kind of pulling out some of that equipment that you have and dust it off and maybe start to get yourself on some kind of a routine. Or even just if you have a yard, just running around in your own, backyard, playing tag, whatever it is, just get yourself moving every day is super important. And on that note, just to let you guys know, and I'm sending out this email, with this video, our mindful movement classes over at the integrative med department at the Disney is going to start live streaming on Mondays, Wednesday, and Friday. So, which is phenomenal. So on Monday and Friday, you'll be able to do the yoga for cancer classes with Karen. And then on Wednesdays, they'll still have Qigong at 10 o'clock with Antoinette. We'll have a gentle yoga class with Lilia, and in the middle of the day, I believe that's at 12:30. And then at 5:30, the Chai Chi with Mark will be live streamed. So, I'm not sure exactly yet how all of that's going to work, but I will keep you posted. So that's always good news. And if you haven't taken one of those classes, you always maybe wanted to, or your schedule didn't allow you to, or you just kind of weren't sure, now you can do it from your living room. So again, think positive. It's very, very vital to think positive right now. Try to manage your boredom, stay busy. Try to resist hanging out, around the refrigerator, just kind of mindlessly munching or binge watching, programs and things like that. Maybe try to tap back into your hobbies or, reading or cooking or painting or whatever it is, making videos like this. But you know, and also stay in touch with your family, stay in touch with your colleagues, stay in touch with friends. You know, we need that social support. We're all, you know, kind of isolated right now, and our typical routines are completely, you know, offset. And we are a community that likes to network. So definitely stay in touch and try to reach out, whether it's through FaceTime or Zoom or Skype or however you like to try to get that social support. Remember that we're all facing this together. I'm in it with you, and I want to be here for you guys as much as I possibly can. So feel free to reach out to me, and I'm very, very appreciative, and my heart just bursts when I receive your texts or your emails, your calls to let me know how you're doing, or even ask me questions. Because again, we're all facing this together. We all want to come out stronger from this, wiser from this, possibly closer. And there's a lot of beautiful, wonderful times to come. So thank you for listening. I hope this helped a little bit, and I look forward to the next little video I'm going to put together for you guys. And hey, if there's any topics you want me to cover, let me know. All right, I will talk to you guys soon.